Hello there, and welcome to another Motivational Monday. It is Coach Mo here live with one of my lovely career breakthrough strategists, Michelle Barone. Welcome to Motivational Monday.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, great to see you. Yeah, it's awesome. I wanted to have a conversation with you on a Motivational Monday, Michelle, because between you and I, we've done over 6,000 calls with women about what's going on in their career. And I said, you know what? It's about time we talk candidly about what's going on with women's careers. And basically, I'm just going to call it the missteps that we see and help folks understand that it's not permanent. I mean, that's really what I want to say to everyone here today. And folks, if you're here with us live, please let us know. I'd love a comment. Let me know who you are and if you're here or not. I love knowing who's here. We can do a shout out. Michelle, there might be a client that you helped re-own her career and come back full steam ahead. So as a career breakthrough strategist on my team, Michelle conducts the career clarity calls along with myself, another team member, Kelly. And collectively, we speak to over 200 women a month.
A lot.
It is a lot. And let's just put that in perspective. That's about 2,500 women a year. And on one hand, that's like a little tiny ripple in the pond of all the women out there who are having trouble with their careers. Yep. And we hear some of the same things over and over again. Mm-hmm. And we know the problems that we can truly tackle and help our ladies with. Well, let's talk about the things that we see and what that's causing in these ladies' lives. Not that they need to be reminded, but on one hand, let's sort through the catalog. Okay. You know your career is going in the wrong direction when. Fill in some of the blanks of the things that you see on the clarity calls when we talk to our ladies.
When you stop getting invited to meetings.
Ooh.
When you're no longer asked for suggestions.
Mm.
When you suggest something and they're ignored.
Mm.
Looked.
Mm.
When yeah, I keep thinking.
Yeah. How about the obvious ones? When you are passed over for opportunities, people call them promotions, but sometimes opportunities aren't necessarily directly promotions. It's something more, something better, a cooler project, getting involved in something, being invited into something that's kind of going on and that's all great and wonderful. And shout out to the page. I know we're getting a little feedback here. Hopefully this sounds okay for those of you ladies who are here on Facebook. Let me know and some feedback. Michelle, what are some of the bigger issues? I mean, career missteps include losing your job.
Right.
What do you see when women have lost their jobs or are no longer working? What are some of the things that we see on the clarity calls that cause that or that led up to that?
Well, one other thing that I was thinking about when we were talking about different missteps, when your tasks start being taken away from you.
Ooh.
So when all of this happens, what happens on the clarity call, what I hear is they are either too frozen and too blindsided to think clearly and do anything. And they've sit on the couch and watch TV and dive into the internet, catching up on marathon shows and not knowing where to turn. The other one is they jump into a job search so heavy that that's all they do. And now the rejection upon rejection is weighing them down.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just causing them to sink lower into depression, anxiety.
Yeah. How about the phenomenon of overworking to compensate for something you're sort of beginning to feel that you're going in the wrong direction, or that you are, like you said earlier, getting left out of meetings, excluded, not being invited into the cooler projects, etc. And then so human beings tend to compensate by overworking. And now we're burning ourselves out and we're being excluded. Mm-hmm. And now we're telegraphing something that isn't helpful. What are we telegraphing at this point when we're overworking?
That we're lacking confidence and we're desperate.
Yeah.
We're desperate.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing that starts to happen is when we feel inside, when we feel the unraveling of our position or of our role, we do tend to overcompensate with overwork. We tend to overcompensate perhaps also with some of our, shall we say, personality weaknesses. Like if we tend to get aggressive, we're going to be more aggressive. If we tend to shy away and get timid and crawl into our shell, we're going to do more of that. Yeah. Overworking. And when we isolate or get too aggressive, I mean, we can pretty much put the nail in the coffin at that point. Yeah. You and I shared a woman clarity call because we were both kind of helping her understand what we could really do to help her. Mm-hmm. She sent out a pretty bad email.
Yeah. Yeah.
What happened with that?
Well, when you send out a bad email and you don't take 24 hours to like think it over and then reread it the next day, you can send that out, and sometimes you can make mistakes and even send it to more than just the person you were expecting to send it to because you weren't thinking straight. But then you send it out and then it comes back and it bites you because you put it out there in that place from scarcity and desperation, and therefore that's what came through. And all it does is make the situation worse.
Yeah. You know what sometimes happens also, and I deal with this in the coaching workshop as well, and you know, because we talk about this all the time, is that when women sometimes get desperate about their role and want to prove their worth, they sometimes work harder, but then sometimes insert their opinion when it's not really asked for, invited, or they want to really show and prove that they have value.
Yeah. Devil's
then there's that, the devil's advocate issue. Yeah. So let's talk about what really starts to happen here, and then what happens inside when the ladies we work with begin to act this way out there because they're responding to something, but then what's happening inside? What do we see that's happening with these women's lives and what's happening inside of them?
Lack of sleep, rumination of their thoughts all night long, the constant worry. Now they're not present with their family. So now not only do they feel like they're failing at work, but now they feel like they're failing at home. Not paying attention to the little things, how you're showing up. Are you on time? Are you too early? Are you just putting yourself in situations that you really don't belong in, maybe crossing the line and not staying in your lane, trying to take control. There's so much, but then there's that, okay, so panic attack, you get sick, you overwork, you're not sleeping. Maybe your hair falls out. I hear that all the time.
Yeah, we do see that.
You feel it in your heart. You feel it in your stomach. Digestive issues, big one. I hear that one too.
Right. And you know, something that we don't really talk about that often, but we know it's happening, is the feel-good stuff starts to be the binging and overdoing on Netflix, drinking a little bit too much at night. Yeah. Not exercising. Every now and then we see someone over-exercise, but it's usually you begin to slough off on the things that matter to you or that take care of you. And social isolation is a big problem as well. Just want to do a shout out to Darcy, Paula, Maria, and Debbie, Tracy, Letty. Nice to see you ladies. Many of you are clients, and We totally honor and love the work that we are doing with you and that we have done to help you create a career not full of missteps, or to rectify the missteps. You know, one of the things we see when you're in a role, Michelle, and we both have been here in our careers, when you're in a role that starts to go backward, you start to not be treated the same. You start to be treated poorly. Maybe your boss gets to be a little bit more aggressive with you. You start to retrench. And then all you can do with your spare time is complain about your job or your boss,
Yes.
feel lousy about yourself. And then you reignite all of that programming inside that makes you feel lousy. That's what causes the isolation of friends. It causes drinking too much at night. I talked with a woman on a clarity call several months ago, and after our call, she realized she needed to go to Alcoholics Anonymous. Yeah. And sometimes we see that binge watching on TV, overeating. I've just gained 20 pounds more last year, and I'm going in the wrong direction. Then what typically happens is that the rational fear-based brain kicks in and says, well, clearly this job is too high level for you and you can't handle it. Mm-hmm. So sometimes we're talking to a woman on a clarity call and she is already backslid because she has convinced herself that that level of job is too much. She can't handle it. She can't handle the politics, something that she was doing wrong. Maybe you're thinking about a particular clarity call, Michelle, when I'm talking about that. Describe what's going on there.
They start doubting every decision. And if they're a leader, now they're not being an effective leader. If they are normally producing great results, now the results start slacking. We had a woman who wanted to give up her industry. She was like, I'm done. I want out. Right. And it was something that it was her calling. Yes. I mean, when you really got down to it, it was her calling. It's what she always wanted to do. So because of her missteps, because of how she was presenting herself from that scarcity and not feeling confident like she belonged, it was maybe some assertiveness that was being not understood the right way. And so we had to help her. And thankfully, she decided to stay in her industry. And with help and guidance from the coaches, she's now doing what she loves and finding the success. So I think that giving up something that you've worked so hard at, I mean, I've heard women get on the calls and go, what was my education worth? Now I'm not going to do this anymore. Or forget it, I'm not going to do corporate. I'm going to start my own business.
Yes, yes. Let's talk about the education problem for a second here, because this is one of the things that we see all the time. Women who have college degrees or advanced degrees, and they're really not at the compensation level that they ought to be at, given their career experience and what they bring to the table. They've undervalued themselves maybe forever. Mm-hmm. And they just don't know how to position themselves in a situation where they're exerting the full value of what they bring to the table. I call it the treasure chest. Every one of us has a treasure chest of expertise, experience, and education. And so often we see women not fully leveraging that. And sometimes they have still student loan debt for their MBA or their PhD or their educational doctorate, and they just can't move the needle to the career move that they must have in order to use what they bring. So, I mean, we do the math sometimes on these clarity calls, don't we?
Yeah.
And sometimes the math is huge. I mean, not leveraging a master's degree could be a $50,000 a year misstep. Over 5 years, 10 years. I mean, we're talking about $500,000 after 10 years. And that's just assuming one move, one career move, or perhaps backslid down. Perhaps you're making 70 or 80K and you should get to 120, 130, but you just don't know how to get there. Mm-hmm. Or you've had personal trauma or job trauma that pushed you in the back, and now you don't know how to get back.
Well, and then they take it to, they start considering desperation jobs. Well, I was making 90, but now I'm going to have less responsibility, which is probably better for me. So I'm just going to take 70 this time. And then they realize that now they're going and they're not feeling fulfilled. They're not feeling challenged. Every day they walk in, they feel small. So now they feel worse about themselves. And then when they leave that position, if they leave that position, because now that comfort zone got smaller and now they're stuck and they're sliding backwards. And it's a spiral downward. I talk about the spiral downward a lot.
Mm-hmm. Right. And you and I and our teammate Kelly, I mean, our hearts are like, oh, come on, we got this for you. One of the things that we really try to help our ladies understand on the clarity calls is when your career has had a misstep or 2 or 3, or sometimes it's been several years, your soul gets completely depleted. All of the reserves that you had at one time to do something to bounce back, it just isn't in the tank anymore. And we talked about some of the physical symptoms, but let's talk about what that feels like to have a soul that's depleted. You and I both know what that feels like.
Yeah.
So what was your experience when your soul was depleted and you didn't feel like you could kind of like come back, or you didn't feel like you had the inner wherewithal to represent?
You literally feel like you've lost everything. You feel like a shell of yourself. And you start questioning not just every career move, but every decision. And what does the future hold for me? And what do I have? And it's just this, again, spiral, but mentally. Well, and then it impacts your family, because now maybe you're coming home in a bad mood. And now maybe there's some arguments that are started with your spouse, your partner, your family. And it's a bad, lonely place to be.
Yeah.
I talked to one woman. She was in such a bad place and felt so useless, was the word she used at work. Someone who had once been at the top of her game, leadership role. And she was feeling even worse because they took all her tasks away from her. She had nothing to do. So now she's like sitting, wasting time at her desk. And now she's feeling even worse because she's got integrity. And that's what she was there for. And so
she's waiting for the other shoe to fall, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Any call from HR, like, oh my God, what now?
Right.
You know, a normal meeting with your boss can turn into a major anxiety attack because you're not sure what's going to happen.
Right. I remember that woman that you spoke to several months ago who ended up working in our workshop and feeling awesome and great about herself. She would literally sit in the parking lot before she would go into work, and she would have a mental breakdown. She'd basically be crying before she went into work. And that was a combination of her career not going anywhere, and it was a boss who was very oppressive to her.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, going up to work, not only emotionally drained from the word go, but also not feeling that you can even do anything right or good, just absolutely compresses not only your soul and yourself, but any career opportunity. There's no way she's going to be looked at for advancement or for doing something more, because she's so compressed as a person, as a soul, as a woman.
Right. And it goes the opposite way too, because sometimes if you try to make yourself, like, prove yourself, like, I'm so important here, I'm going to do everybody's jobs and they're going to count on me for everything, and that way I'm going to be really secure. Now you're putting yourself in this box. And now, does she really understand how to manage her time? Because she's always here late. Or she's always coming in early. She never gets her job done, but actually she's taken on everyone else's positions. And that's not a way to prove your leadership.
No, as a matter of fact, we've also had some women who we've spoken to on clarity calls who later joined our workshop because their bosses told them that.
Yeah.
If you keep doing this, you're proving to yourself that you can't manage your time, you can't manage your workload, and we're not going to see you as promotable. So they come into the workshop, Mo, I need to be seen as promotable. I don't know how to manage myself, my workload. I feel like I'm always behind the eight ball, have to overwork to stay ahead. Don't know how to delegate, perhaps, or aren't leaning into the resources around them because they feel like they have to do it all. And this is how women are brought up, ladies, aren't we? We're brought up to be the doers and to get stuff done and to be in a supportive role and to take care of everything. And what happens is that if we play that out in the workplace, we're going to be left behind. Because maybe the first 10 years of our career, we have to be doers and get stuff done and prove our worth and learn a little bit. But after the first decade, those things start to shift, and we have to now become more of an influencer, more of someone who's going to manage things and be able to get things done at a broader scope of not just being the one with our hands on it.
Yeah.
So Michelle, you and I have both personally been through a lot of transformation. Mm-hmm. And we just went through this with our team this morning. And as a coach, I see this every single day, every single week in our workshop. And I have the extreme satisfaction of watching women year after year continue to progress and advance their souls and their careers. What's it feel like once you get into that zone of knowing your power, knowing your worth, and playing full out?
Oh, it's exhilarating. It's a gift. It's you're in a flow energetically, and you're excited about going to work every day. You know that you're going to impact other people and their lives. A lot of times you get set up where you can mentor others through their situations. So now you're helping others grow, learning from your experiences and sometimes your missteps. It's empowering. And it feels like you're on top of the world. And who would want to lose that? And so that's why you have to be careful, but you have to be confident. And when you feel like things are not right, a strong person asks for help.
Ah, right.
And I say this I used to say this all the time at work. I say it all the time now. Weakness isn't someone who asks for help. That's strength. That's saying I can't do this alone. Mm-hmm. That's a true leader.
Right. You know, I hired my first coach 20 years ago now. It was in the year 2000. And I was banging my head up against a brick wall, a glass ceiling, I don't know what the heck it was. I was banging my head up against stuff and not moving my career, not advancing. And I was miserable, but I was loving the mission of the work I was doing. So I stayed way too long. I eventually lost that job. I hired my first coach, and she said to me something that I'd never heard of before. She said, do you want to be right all the time, or do you want to be successful? Mm-hmm. And I think so many times we women are raised to have the correct answer, to have the right way to do things, to have the better way to see things. Well, if we did it that way, this is what's going to happen, everyone. So that's the devil's advocate. So we're sort of playing out this, I'm smarter or better, even though I'm really not, and I'm just trying to prove it. So I hired my first coach, and she taught me a lesson about not always having to be right or have all the answers, mm-hmm. and allowing things to kind of unfold and progress and not push the whole time. That's a tricky thing because our brain just can't wrap around it, but our soul knows what flow feels like. Our soul knows what it feels like not to push. I mean, I know you've had 2 children. Did you push them to walk? Did you like stand them up and say, get up and walk, I demand it?
No, I supported them.
Mm-hmm.
I helped them. I guided them. I held their hand.
Yeah. And you let them fall?
Yes. And then I cheered them on when they did to get back up.
Kept the diaper on them so when they would fall on their family, they would have a little padding.
A little cushion. Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? As a mom, as a leader, that's what you have to do. It doesn't stop. Never stops.
Right.
You always support. You always encourage. You always cheer them on. And you're always open to help.
Mm-hmm. And that is what a good leader does. Mm-hmm. But it's also what a good soul does to the self. Mm-hmm. She is encouraging. She is forgiving. Mm-hmm. She is allowing. She is supportive. And when we can be that way for ourselves, then we can come into our power and be who we really ultimately be. Now, back to the whole coach thing. I would have never been able to see these blind spots on my own that I got from my coach.
Yeah.
Never. I would have never been able to see that. I would have never been able to navigate it. Now, that was 20 years ago. I've learned a lot more from the variety of coaches I've had over those years. And now, because of all the missteps I've had and all of the fall down, come back up, fall down, come back up I've had, I'm able to help you to navigate these things. And folks, I apologize for the extra noise. It just seems like there's some extra audio noise going on, ladies. I apologize if you're still with us. Let us know if you're hearing that. I'm hearing some reverb myself. So Michelle, as we're helping women lift their careers and get their souls back, what are the commitments that our ladies declare for themselves when they say enough is enough and I'm ready to change? What are they declaring?
They're declaring that they're ready to be open, to be ready for change, that maybe they don't know it all, that maybe their way isn't working and they need more perspective. They're opening up to facing their fears, because we know women that stay too long because they're waiting. They're waiting to be seen. They're waiting for someone to notice. They're waiting, and they're wasting time.
Yeah.
And sometimes, as you've taught me, and what I've learned is sometimes you have to leave and self-promote. Sometimes you have to make the move to do better. And now they're open for that challenge, but they're open to know that they have to heal first. Because if you don't, and I had this conversation today with an amazing woman, if she doesn't heal first and get help first,
right,
guess what she's taken with her?
Bringing it all over. Bringing all that trash over.
And it's a cycle. And ladies, when there's a cycle, you got to take notice. There's got to be something that's your blind spot that you're missing. And
here's a big word that's part of that equation. It's called responsibility.
Yep.
If your career isn't working out, it's your responsibility to fix it.
Yeah.
There's no company or boss, colleague, friend, family member who's going to fix your career.
Right.
And when we talk to our ladies on the clarity calls, there's a declaration. And there's a sense of stepping into, if it's going to be, it's up to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels a little scary to think that there's something that you don't know that's going to actually come together for you. And folks, this could be me, it could be someone else, but find an expert who has been ahead of you, who has done something more, who has worked with people like you, if you will, who has paved the way. One of the things that is really awesome about the work that we do, Michelle, and you know this because you've been around with me for over a year and a half, the sisterhood and the camaraderie of the group setting that we have in our coaching program. The way I've set this up is that there's a proven methodology where we bring your soul back to life. We get you really, really clear on your career strategy based on the thread of your soul and personal mission statement. And then we give you the most rock solid, well, we don't give it to you. We show you how to do the most rock solid resume, LinkedIn, and get you ready for rock interviews. We just helped a woman who had an interview the next day after we brought her into the workshop, and we coached her on being a rock star for that interview. We fast forwarded her through some of the stuff that we do in our workshop so that she could be ready to totally rock that interview. And in less than 2 weeks, she subsequent interview nailed it and is rocking a nice pay increase and finally being able to use her master's degree in a role that is more fitting for her, and her career is just going to be going in the positive direction. Now she has another 9 weeks to continue to work on herself and be a rock star in her new job and lay down those tracks.
Well, and sorry.
Yeah, no, go.
You know how many, I mean, think of how many times our ladies have started, and I'll ask them, how do you feel? I'm a little scared, but I'm excited because I'm finally taking action. And then when I talk to them a couple days later into the workshop, they've got a spring in their step because they know they have this expert panel of high-level women, professional coaches, helping guide them. And all of a sudden, how many times has the woman gotten a promotion or gotten a new job, or life has changed somehow, some way?
Right.
And it all happens so fast because they big thing with us women is not putting ourselves first.
Right. Right. And there's not only a step of confidence that happens when you declare that you're important and worth it, but there's also, as we know, we work in the energetic, vibrational world. Ladies, if you don't know it, let me be the first to tell you about science that we've known for over 115 years. The world is an energetic, vibrational universe. And when you're vibrating in fear and doubt, you're going to attract the lower common denominator. And you wonder why you're always in bad environments, bad bosses, things don't work out, you never get ahead. Well, it's not only how you think and feel about yourself, but it's also the attractor pattern that you've created around you, because we are an energetic universe. So part of the keys of why we're successful with our ladies is because we help them feel more confident and happy with who they are and bring their souls back to life. But we also show them and teach them all the tools and techniques of getting at a higher vibrational level. And that's the great synergy of bringing all of that together to help lift our careers. And we can take a career that has had many missteps, even major gaps in employment. We just have to woman who's out of work for a year and a half and very traumatized through it. And she's making $17,000 more in her new job. She started today. Yay! Really, really super exciting. So these are the things that we see on the Career Clarity Calls. And I wanted just to encourage every woman here who may not have booked a Clarity Call, or maybe you have, thank you very much. It's been delightful getting to know you. And for those ladies who have joined the workshop, rock on, and we're really glad to help you, or to have helped you. What would you say to your past self, Michelle, when your career was, shall we say, sort of in the toilet?
Yeah.
To book a clarity call, what would you say to that past scared self, Michelle?
There's so much. So develop yourself. If they don't appreciate and value you, value yourself. It's your career. If you want to be a leader, then be a leader for yourself first. Then you can lead others. When you know it's time to go, start packing. It's time to go. Strategically plan your exit.
Right.
Get help around it first so you know exactly where you want to go.
Right.
And then plan it. But help yourself and heal yourself first. Take a good long look at yourself. And then address those issues. That's probably the biggest.
I want to make one very significant comment about that, because what happens when we start feeling bad about ourselves and our soul is vibrating at a low level and we're depleted and we're exhausted? We see the world through that filter. So sometimes it's really difficult to think that there is opportunity or possibility out there because the filter that we're looking through is diminished. It's less. It's negative. It's pessimistic. It's fear-based. And so most women tend to get stuck in a job that's not performing, stuck in a career with a few missteps and being afraid of taking another step because I don't want to make another misstep. And now the only lens that they can possibly look through is more of negativity and fear. And so therefore you won't make a move. And if you try to make a move, you're putting out interviews on a low vibrational energy. You're talking to people on a phone or an interview, and you're coming from a very low place. Michelle, I tell ladies in the workshop this all the time. What happens then is that if you're talking to a recruiter over the phone, or if you go to an interview, you get the interview because your resume is decent, you got the education, expertise, you're going to go to the interview and they're going to say, gosh, nice resume, but yeah, I just don't know. Wasn't feeling it. Hey, Joe, how about you? Were you feeling it? Nah, wasn't really feeling it. So you're not going to get called back. And you're certainly not going to get chosen for the best job you could get because you're not at that place of being the best version of you. So if you're not the best version of you, there's no way in the world you're going to be able to advance your career and be playing at that higher level. You've got to heal and bring your soul back. Michelle, I remember distinctly a couple of months in working with you. You took some of your old work clothes. You remember this?
I do.
You want to share what you did?
There were some that I packed away because I didn't want to ever see them in my closet again. And I broke free from those stuffy, and some people love their suits. I am not a suit person. I gave them away to women that I thought could use them, donated them. But then there were other ones. The ones that were, and when you were talking about how you feel that fake it until you make it, that's the worst thing I was ever told years ago, because you know what? Everyone feels it. So on that line, we used to get shirts for every accomplishment, shirts. And I took them and I ripped them apart. And then I threw them all in the air because I was free. Because you know what? It ended up that in my situation where I was, it felt like smoke and mirrors. And it just didn't feel authentic. And so I did what felt right for me. It doesn't necessarily, and all those people that may still be there or know where I love everything about the mission and what they do, but in my experience, it did not work for me.
Yeah, understood. And so sometimes we have to physically have a ritual.
Absolutely.
To let go and move on, because there's a lot of attachments to what could have been and what isn't, and the pain of a variety of different things that happen in a career. You know, the thing about a career is that it is part of our life journey. That is sometimes the biggest part of our time during the week. I mean, if you do some math, it's a pretty big chunk of what we spend our days on during the week. And of course, it informs everything in our lives. It informs how we handle our children. It informs how we deal with our spouse, partner at home. It informs how we either do or don't support our family or siblings, parents, etc. If we do it begrudgingly, in victim mode, or if we stop doing it because we're in self-protection, I just don't have the energy, we begin to be less than for ourselves first. And then it starts playing out in all the other arenas. And women are really good at working over this and not listening, and therefore getting adrenal fatigue and other types of depletion that turn into hair loss, migraines, loss of sleep, high blood pressure, weight gain. The list goes on. We've had women with skin disorders, gastrointestinal disorders. We've had a couple of women who've lost their jobs because they did have chronic migraines. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And albeit that sometimes eventually that turns into a real medical condition, sometimes it can be transition when the soul comes back to life. And when we are in our genius zone, which everyone has that place where they're the most awesome version of them. And then if we can translate that into our career, life gets really good. From accountants to engineers to IT professionals, marketing, sales, nurses, other executives, sales professionals, you name it. When you bring your soul back to life and you integrate that into the work you know how to do in the world, your career's awesome, and you become a better version of you. That means you become a better mom, a better spouse, a better friend, a better daughter, a better sister, a better neighbor.
Yeah.
I mean, you just become a better version. Michelle, you've got a bunch of career clarity calls coming up this week.
Yep.
What do you want to say to all those women who are on the schedule and ready to rock and roll?
Don't be scared. It's a conversation. That's all it is. It's a conversation to get you and help you find the clarity you're looking for. Be open and honest with yourself. It starts with you. You book the call. Don't be afraid and then block the conversation. If you feel angry, allow yourself to talk it out. Because that's what we're here to do, is guide you through the conversation. We're not here to tell you anything. You know it. We just have to help you hear yourself.
See it and really see what's truly going on, right? And the other thing is show up for yourself.
Yes.
This is a time where many, if not most of the women, if not all, who've had these calls with them, that it's been the most helpful and meaningful conversation that they've had, sometimes forever.
Yeah.
And we know how to dive deep. We know how to help you really understand what's going on at multiple levels. And we'll take care of you. And we'll show you what the next steps are like. And if we can help you, we'll figure that out. If not, there might be another direction or another avenue for you to take that would be helpful. Michelle, I'm delighted that you helped me do this wonderful work to lift women's lives and to help women really understand what's truly going on. Sometimes the first couple of layers are not really the truth. And we always have to take our own personal responsibility and dive in and see what's really going on. I know I've had to do that many times in my career. I've had to take a real strong inventory of how I was showing up, or as I was telling myself, and how that was causing me to keep bumping into the same problems over and over again. Until finally I took responsibility for that. And then, of course, like life will have it, get into the next level position, and there's another issue that you have to handle and take care of. So I'm delighted that you joined me on Motivational Monday.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Folks, if you really need to solve your career, if things aren't going in the direction, rather than waste time, your precious soul, and money, book your career clarity call. And that can be mofaul.com/live clarity call. I want to shout out to Cindy and Carla and Judith, Monica, nice to see you here. Yes, Michelle, you helped Judith, and she's totally rocking on you. Absolutely, Judith, it was a pleasure to coach you and to see you in the grad group, continuing to come into your own and own your truth and your space and navigate life. Because life is always going to be happening. There's always going to be things that are inconvenient or that are happening. Your kids are going to graduate from 8th grade in high school. They're going to have soccer practice. If you don't take care of you in the midst of all of life happening, you're the one in the mirror.
Yeah.
It's up to you to really navigate things to the way that's going to take care not only of you, but of your family. So take responsibility. Show up for yourself. Michelle?
And please honor yourself by don't squeezing this in while you're driving to and from somewhere. We want you to be safe
and present.
Please, and focused and being able to take notes. So please honor yourself. Book the call for when a time when you can actually talk and be open honest, not worrying about who can overhear you,
Right.
and not driving.
Yes. If this is your time, we provide these clarity calls because I believe in helping ladies understand what's truly going on. And, you know, we've talked to about 6,000 people over the past 5 years, and we've had 600 women in our workshop over the 5 years. We have a proven methodology. It's not for everyone, but we want to help you understand the truth of what's really going on. And sometimes that clarity call can be just what it takes to kind of move you forward. Judith, you're so great. Thank you. Everything always works out for me. I love your comments. Shout out again to all of our beautiful clients, graduates, and all of you ladies who are watching these comments who are not. You might want to consider seriously getting your career where you want it to be. No more missteps. Your life is too precious to make a career misstep. We can help you solve whatever missteps you've had up until this point. This is career coach Mo Faul. You can find me at mofaul.com and book your career clarity call at mofaul.com/live clarity call, and we'll take care of you. You'll meet me or Michelle or Kelly, and we'll talk about your career and see what's really going on. Michelle, thanks again for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Tomorrow morning.
Yes.
And folks, your career is up to you. Take responsibility and have a good one. See you next time.
Bye-bye.